Hey there, it's time for a new episode, new patch, new me. So before we jump into keys this week, there are some side quests I need to do. First of all, I need to unlock the Omnium Folio, which will give me extra player power for the next 5 weeks. I do the quest and super challenging mini games required, and then get to choose my power. I pick the chance of something happening randomly because I like the surprise, but Wowhead says that I'm wrong. Good thing I can change it at any time. Before we get into dungeons, I also decide to try the new Heroic World Tier zone, and good thing I did because completing the quest here gives me 15 mythic crests. Nice. And then it's time for keys, but this part of the challenge makes me nervous because things are starting to hurt. Things that would just tickle me in lower keys might actually murder me, and I'm also increasingly afraid to put my life in the hands of pug healers.
Her life is in your hands. Her life is in your hands, dude.
But here we go into Magister's Terrace 14. I've never had beef with this dungeon before, but for some reason this dungeon is cursed whenever my protection warrior enters it. At least my shield can't break due to wear and tear damage anymore. We do the first pull with Bloodlust and that room gets absolutely annihilated. We move on to the second hallway and I move through it lightning fast. Charge, leap, charge, dip around the corner. The Death Knight, Jason Morn, is the first one out with me and we both get hit with the Holy Fire debuff. I'm constantly sitting at around 50 to 60% health because every bit of health that gets healed instantly gets ripped away by the debuff and 1,000 white swings, which I don't think to use a defensive for. And so when the Sunblade Enforcers finally catch up to me, their charge and Arcane Blade combo send me to the Shadow Realm. Now my mistake here is that I didn't put Shield Wall or Spell Reflect on cooldown, and I also had an available Impending Victory. Whoops. I guess this is a warm-up key now. My death spirals into 9 deaths total because we commit one of the deadliest dungeon sins. We try to recover the pull. The pull is looking fine for a while, and I actually do use defensives this time, but the Sunblade Enforcers do a truck ton of arcane damage with their melee swings when they are empowered. This ability can be purged or spell stolen, but unfortunately that didn't happen, and pair that with a protection warrior, it's not great.
I don't know what I expected.
Well, let's go again. So far nobody has said anything, so we keep going. I try to pull the hallway slower, but I accidentally end up pulling the pack at the end of the hallway, so we have to commit. At this point, I was still unsure what actually happened to me, like did I go around the corner too quickly? So I fight them at the end of the hall, fearing for my life the whole time. We managed to take the pack down without any issue, and at this point I'm even more confused.
I have no idea what has happened there. What's happened, Chris?
I don't know, Jim.
I think my biggest problem as a protection warrior is that I get so excited to use Spell Reflect at the perfect time for a nice and juicy reflect that I keep it off cooldown for way too long. The cooldown is super short for an ability that's strong, and it's even stronger when you realize it's not just a reflect, but it also has a magic damage reduction, which I should be using way more often, especially because as a protection warrior, any magic is just slapping me directly in the face. I nearly die on the next Sunblade Enforcer pack, and yet again, I'm way too greedy to press Spell Reflect. But yeah, these Enforcers are probably my biggest warrior nemesis so far. I never realized these were that dangerous as a Resto Shaman, but that's maybe because I purged them on cooldown and because I did 99% of my keys with my Bestia and Blood Decay, the literal opposite of a protection warrior in terms of damage taken. But this time I survive it, so we're moving on. We rack up 2 more deaths on the Runic Mark Hallway of Doom and on the boss. Also, while I love the set design of most dungeons, these ceiling banners are the worst. Like, look at me struggling to find a nice point of view here. We blast through Sunlash and Gemellis, and with 11 deaths and 7.5 minutes, we are on our way to the last boss. It's gonna be a tight one, but we can still time it. I'm fighting the 2 Void Terrors on the way to the last boss when a stray gets fired into the Shadow Rift Void Caller. Uh-oh. Somehow we don't wipe here, but we do lose the priest, who then gets resurrected, but it's too late for the Death Knight and the mage. 3 more deaths, 45 seconds gone. We might still be able to do it. We pull the boss with 3 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock, and we have Bloodlust. This is doable, but we lose the mage, which is another 15 seconds gone from the timer, and also a chunk of damage gone, and we don't have a battle rest, and we have 1.5 minutes left for 45% health.
Sometimes it's too slow, for sure.
Well, we didn't time it. We finished the dungeon in 34 minutes and 9 seconds. 9 seconds over the timer. 1 death too many. But it's also crazy that we had 15 deaths, a 3-minute and 45-second death penalty, and still almost timed it. That's just proof that even if some people die, your key probably isn't doomed. There are many points in this dungeon where it could have gone just a little bit different and we would have timed it easily. I also take full responsibility for dying twice at the start of the dungeon, because that's ultimately where most of our deaths came from. Everyone is chill about it though, it happens and we move on. I do decide to YOLO my bonus roll because I have so many of them at this point and I can't bring myself to binge Seat and Nexus Point. Not even at a lower key level. And look at that, I got a new weapon. We then decide to do my key, Algeth'ar 14. Now you might have seen last week's Algeth'ar Redemption arc where I pulled all 3 lashers in and survived, but that was at 12, and the Magister's Terrace 14 folding me like laundry has humbled me. I'm very nervous to do the 3 lasher pull on a 14, but I know one thing. Jump away at 3 or 4 stacks of the bleed this time and throw all that sexy Protection Warrior stun and slow ability at the skitterflies. A life hack here is to let your trigger-happy DPS absolutely rip aggro with their DPS cooldowns and bloodlust while you're still running around pulling the mobs.
Daddy, chill.
Like sure, you're scrambling to regain aggro and someone might die, but you know, my bleed stacks are low. I'm alive. If you're a hunter or a rogue, by the way, there's no reason to get any aggro here, just press one of these buttons. But I recover the pull, even without having to use the goat disrupting shout, and I actually feel like Warrior is pumping out some decent damage. I do proc my cheat death here, but that's what it's there for, I guess. I also get to experience the mark for Death Lasher actually dying first. And then we get to the Croth fight, and this fight can spiral into a mess really quickly. I glide slightly away from the boss, our poor Holy Paladin is suddenly the closest party member to the boss, and Croth just turns around and whacks our healer in the face with its giant wing.
I should slap her. Nope. I should slap her in her bitch mouth.
Luckily that doesn't kill our healer. But a tornado does. I panic, rallying cry to hopefully keep some other people alive, but it's too late for the hunter. Our healer gets rezzed. Thank God, but I get so distracted by the mad scramble to stay alive that I miss this frontal, and I go flying. I tried heroic leaping back on the platform because I thought I was gonna die, but luckily for me and our group, this doesn't actually kill you. You get stunned and lifted back onto the platform. And when I'm back on the platform, we manage to take down Krath with 3 deaths total. We stomp the rest of the Algeth'ar with 3 minutes and 38 seconds left, and I get 29 score, taking me to 3041. And despite my frontal fail, I'm feeling confident. I mean, I did the 3 lasher pull again, but on a 14 this time. I'm ready for a 15. I believe. Especially because it's all reliable. Seat of the Triumvirate. A dungeon that I hate as a healer, deleted from the game, but having done it a few times as tank, it's alright. We make it through the subjugator section with no issues, kudos to our healer, but I do need to stagger pull the pack into the boss because our healer needs mana. Thank God for my bestie reading the chat to me. And actually, you know what? I have to set the record straight because last week I said I saw Mana Need in the chat, but I only saw it because my bestie was screaming it to me on Discord, and that's because I do not actually read the chat that often because...
You chose to be
Too much for you, healer? Wow.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing at. And I was like, oh, she's not reacting the way I thought she was.
Because I'm not reading it. I can't read it, I don't have the time! On the boss we have a very scary time with oozes and puddles everywhere. Every time I try to move the boss to a free area, oozes seem to spawn from that side. Midway through the fight, my bestie goes down like the Titanic trying to banish one of the oozes. She gets rest, but later in the fight we also lose the Demon Hunter due to a killed an ooze with Void Ray, but we're not going to sidestep the goop because I need to cast Collapsing Star situation. Devourer mains really say it's Collapsing Star or no damage at all. We then have to 4-man the last 15% of the boss, which makes the fight last a little bit longer, and we also have the 30-second penalty from the 2 deaths. But as messy and stressful as that fight was, when the boss does go down, I look down at my Mythic Plus timer and I see we're only 26 seconds behind my best time, so this is probably still very doable. And then the vote to abandon comes out, but I decide to not let it rattle me. I vote no, hope everyone else does the same, and I'm carrying on. And the vote doesn't actually pass. Happy day. Because we have plenty of time and enough damage in this group to time this, I believe. I mean, at this point I'm a seat specialist. I do forget to spell reflect the adept knockback twice in a row, but you know, third time's the charm. On the second boss, I'm in the zone, eating bombs left and right, throwing rallying cry out on overload. I'm also loving warrior movement here because I can leap to clear a bomb, charge back to interrupt a deafening screech. So nice. We get to Maisara and the whole run has been super smooth since the first boss. No deaths, no shenanigans. This fight is always a gamble because even at this key level, people love taking orbs to the face and dying. As a healer, I think this fight is worse than Laura because people are all over the place, getting void infused by the boss, mind flayed by the tentacles, maybe even taking orbs left and right, and the tank is also getting mind blasted on a regular basis. That is great news for a protection warrior. I get my first spell reflect off and it hits the boss for 623k damage, which is 1.5% of the boss's health. So if you're a DPS player here and there's a protection warrior in your team, don't even try to interrupt. Best case scenario, if you're a warrior and you time it right, you can reflect, interrupt, rinse and repeat. No need for outside help. And here's a bonus tip for my fellow protection warriors. If you do happen to have an interrupt happy DPS player here, save your spell reflect for the tentacle part of the fight. There's a lot of movement and focus on killing the tentacles, so most DPS are too busy or too far away to interrupt the boss. And boom! Another juicy 623k damage reflected onto the boss, and this works double because not only am I giving the boss a literal taste of their own medicine, I'm also not taking any damage. Spell Reflect might be one of my favorite abilities in the whole game. I should be using it more because I'm guilty of holding it way too long, because I'm looking for moments like this where it blasts a literal rocket back at its target, and boom! There's the third Spell Reflect of the boss fight, basically turning me into a fourth DPS player. Man, Protection Warrior is just so cool. We have 8 minutes left to kill Laura. 8 minutes between me and my first timed 15 as a Protection Warrior. My plan is to spell reflect Laura's Tank Buster, which will help out with damage and healing. There's just one problem. It's not on the ability tracker, and the only way to see if she's about to laser beam you to death is to look out for these purple portals. When the third one spawns, the damage comes out. But seeing the portals is kinda difficult here because like the banner room in Magister's Terrace, this boss room sucks. There's a ceiling, it's too small, everything in it is purple, and then you have to run around dodging beams and finding nodes to blast, so you know, it's hectic. So I'm just throwing out spell reflects and shield walls when the vibes feel off, and I think I get kinda lucky. I use my only defensive group utility, Rallying Cry, on the discordant beams.
I'm doing my part!
And we time it with 3 minutes and 44 seconds left, taking me to 3068 score. Oh my god, I just timed my first 15 as a protection warrior.
Yeah, boy.
My new key is a Windrunner 16, and while that's a fun key to do, especially as a not healer, for now it's a bit too much, and it's time for me to take my foot off the gas pedal for a minute and get back to my comfort zone. See, I recorded these dungeons on Saturday afternoon. We just finished the Seat at 4 p.m. and that was 3 hours before the Netherlands played against Sweden in the World Cup. And as a Netherlands fan by and since birth, matches during international tournaments are something I look forward to, but also a massive health hazard. So I decided to not add any more Tankxiety as a pre-game mixer and to do an easier wind down Maisara 13 before logging off for the day. We're off to a good start, but I hate freeing these Witherbark prisoners because what do you mean you can't free them in combat? At least in Pit of Sauron, when you clear the enemies that were originally near it, you can talk to the little glowy guy. The first sign of real trouble in this dungeon is when the healer says, "Focus, babe." I have no idea who this is directed to and why.
I don't understand the question, and I won't respond to it.
But my guess is it's about the eagles shredding people to death. This is why dungeon chatter will always be funny to me, because when you say something ambiguous like that, you can't always assume that the other people in the key see exactly what you're also seeing. On the first boss, it's obvious that I didn't listen to the Focus Babe cue from the healer because the big boss bird badonkadonk sends me high into the sky. And Mergent's Spear Tank Buster catches me in the air and launches me out of Azeroth's stratosphere.
We're flying high.
Luckily, I have Heroic Leap available, but I don't even need it because the healer yoinks me off the wall with Leap of Faith. We lose a hunter to panicked running around into frost traps with the barrage, and then I get so distracted watching the monk not get into a frost trap for the carry-on swoop that the bird bot launches me into the air again. I'm 0 for 1 with frontals, or in this case backles, in this episode. This time I don't have Heroic Leap or Faith, so I try mashing charge as I fall down, but I don't manage to get it off in the 1 millisecond I'm in the correct range and I crash into the ground. We res a hunter and they're like, you know what? The highest health boss is at 25%. It's clearly bloodlust time. And 16 seconds later they die in another barrage. But I managed to avoid the big bird butt, so that's something, I guess. Once we get to the area with all the spirit rants, our healer reminds us to use our interrupts, which, in fairness to the team, we have been doing. We've just been overlapping our kicks left and right. And then for Daza we get another motivational speech from our healer, which I mean, fair given everything that's happened so far. But against all odds, we do know, and we actually killed that boss without any issue. However, despite the fact that we only have 2 deaths so far, we have 7 minutes left when we reach the bridge. An incredibly tight timer, but still doable. On the bridge we get a pack of Grim Skirmishers, and they all have a shield, and when their shields break, it does a blast of damage to the group. You want to stagger breaking the shields as much as you can, either by purging the shields one by one, or by managing damage so that the healer can top people off between the blasts. Hey, wait a minute, is that a Mass Dispel animation? This one-shots the poor monk who has Spirit Rend on them and nearly takes out the hunter as well. 15 seconds down, 6.5 minutes left. Our healer does manage to yank my warlock bestie from being yeeted off the bridge, so 10 out of 10 awareness there. We rush to the boss and I screw up on my first no puddle attempt, but I do manage to spell reflect one tick for 50k damage. Our monk gets their soul and skull crushed by crushed souls. Sadly, they do use roll, but like a second too late. RIP. We do have a battle res, but this is another 15 seconds off the timer and lost DPS. After 2 failed puddles, I managed to get the no puddle thing on my 3rd try, and I spell reflected for extra efficiency. While this is happening, our last totem dies right before we get yanked into the Shadow Realm. We almost wiped, but here we are alive and we make it back to the boss for the damage amp with 2 minutes left and bloodlust. But we get back to the boss pretty late and the damage isn't coming, so when we leave the damage phase he still has 54% health and we have 1 minute and 56 seconds left on the clock. We need to burn him fast before we get another intermission. But hey, I managed to do the no puddle thing again. Unfortunately, we don't kill him fast enough and we have to do another bridge intermission. Well, let's ignore the stun for damage thing, don't get slowed by the circles. Oh no, well, rush, we have 5 seconds for 15%.
We both know that's impossible.
I'm counting on you.
I won't do it.
16 seconds overtime, with only 4 deaths this time. These 4 dungeons show once again that doing more damage lets you make more mistakes. We had 11 more deaths in the Magister's Terrace than in the Maisara, and we still came closer to timing it. As a tank, I know I could have been way more effective in the beginning of Maisara, because the bigger I can safely pull, the more damage my group can do. But I also have to rely on my team actually doing damage and on my healer to keep me and everyone else alive and healthy so they can do damage. But it's another close one and we are done for the day. Well, we're done for Protection Warrior because to bring my heart rate down pre-match, I decided to do a 14 Pit of Sauron on my shaman with my bestie tanking it, and healing on my shaman is my happy place. It's super chill. I have time to see everything that's happening and I feel like everything unfolds in slow motion, like I already know what's going to happen. And being on my shaman again makes me realize that I'm getting to a place with tanking where I'm not wildly flailing and looking at my bars for what to press, but I'm actually seeing what's happening around me. 15s are still a big scary step though, but we'll do more of those next week. Thanks for watching and see you next time.